if I remember where that is. But I'm a little bit better at finding things in the first floor than I am in the upper floors. Here we go. Right here. I hope he's not down here. Okay, let's unrust this. Okay, drop it. No, no! And I see.
Today on Incredible Hulk, She-Hulk is going to get her revenge against the Red Hulk. This is the Comicstorian channel. I break down a lot of trade paperbacks and single issues in the world of comics, cutting out the fluff and the additional B-plots. All the alterations we make to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and let's get over to that storyline. In our last two videos, we discovered that the Red Hulk had arrived and was fighting against the Hulk. After the Hulk definitively beat him down, Red Hulk vanished, and Hulk went on a search for him, fighting against Wendigo. Well, She-Hulk has seemingly tracked down the Red Hulk, so now she would like a little revenge. She-Hulk nods, hanging up the phone, going down the list of superheroines that could back her up in her hunt for the Red Hulk. She keeps crossing names off until she finally gets someone. That's great, she says. Of course she can bring the horse. A short time later, Valkyrie lands her Pegasus on the deck of the helicarrier. Valkyrie, Thundra. Thundra, Valkyrie. Jennifer says that she introduces the two heroes that she managed to get a hold of. Let's get to work, Thundra nods. A short time later, Maria clips through the slides on her briefing of the Red Hulk. How he quickly cut through the likes of Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, and She-Hulk. Sorry, Jen, she whispers, as She-Hulk shakes her head in shame at the footage. She looks at the three women, explaining that their mission is to capture the Red Hulk so that they can learn his civilian identity. Since this is S.H.I.E.L.D. sanctioned, I'd like you to armor up, she says as she walks over to the armory. Is she serious? Thundra whispers to Valkyrie. Take your pick. Hill says that she motions to a wall of weapons and armor. The girls quickly get into their gear and choose their weapons, finally standing ready to fight. Let's go spank some red ass, She-Hulk says, as she lifts her magical mace. It takes a few days to locate the criminal, but they do finally find Red Hulk inside of a rundown bar near Mount Rushmore. They find him amidst the destroyed ruins, drinking from a keg like it's a beer can. I'd ask you to surrender, but I'm really hoping you put up a good fight, She-Hulk tells him as the three women enter the bar through the door. Even though the wall is destroyed, he throws down the keg. Careful what you wish for, he bellows as he rushes at them, knocking all three of them back out into the open. As the women scatter, Red Hulk reaches out, grabbing a hold of a nearby gas tanker. What do you think, Walters? You just show up with a couple of your gal pals and get some payback? Red Hulk asks. Actually, yeah, she says as she reaches up to block the truck as he brings it down. The gasoline explodes, showering all of them in flames, but the women are nigh indestructible, and Thundra leaps, swinging the magic chain that she took from the armory down on Red Hulk. That's enough, she shouts, and Red Hulk reaches out, grabbing the chain, allowing it to wrap around his wrist. Thundra, we haven't even started, he snarls, yanking the chain from her grasp, whipping it through the air, allowing it to wrap around She-Hulk's neck. Come to daddy, he says as he drags her away, dangling her over the edge of Mount Rushmore, choking her as he looks up at the other two. If you two want to come back inside and have a beer with me, and play spin the bottle, I won't kill your girlfriend here, he tells them with a smile. She-Hulk continues to struggle against the chain. Don't you dare listen, she gasps. I'm not listening. Are you listening? Valkyrie asks Thundra. How can you hear anything with that helmet on? Thundra asks Valkyrie. But Red Hulk just continues to smile as he holds the chain. What's it gonna be, girls? She-Hulk dies or you agree to be the bread in a Red Hulk sandwich, he tells them. And then he tells them that they have 3 seconds to decide before he yanks the chain, snapping her neck. But Valkyrie moves quickly, throwing her sword through the air, and it spins past Red Hulk's head as he easily dodges it. Don't move, he tells them. But Thundra manages to reach the shotgun that fell. Not so dumb if you knew the plan, she snaps as she brings the weapon up, blasting Red Hulk in the face. Valkyrie's sword keeps going, slashing through the chain as Red Hulk crumples in pain. You have just made a big mistake, he growls, but Thundra just shoots him again when he looks up to threaten them. As She-Hulk begins to fall, she's quickly caught by Valkyrie's Pegasus. She flips off of the flying horse and lands on Red Hulk's back, driving him hard into the earth. She-Hulk smash, she bellows, and the ground cracks beneath them, and Abraham Lincoln's head begins to crumble and fall off the mountain. That's gonna leave a mark, she hisses as she wraps the chain around Red Hulk's throat, pulling tight. Die! Valkyrie shouts, rushing forward, driving the sword through the monster's chest. A look of surprise crosses his face as he falls to the ground, no longer moving. Well, that was easy if you don't count the part where he almost killed all of us, She-Hulk notes as they stand over the body of Red Hulk, and Thundra keeps her weapon up. Careful, he could be playing us, she begins to say, but Red Hulk reaches up, grabbing her weapon. Not could be, absolutely was. He growls as he rips the weapon free of her grasp, getting to his feet. Now for my next trick, he gasps as he pulls the sword's hilt, pulling it out of his own chest. He then holds both weapons in his hands, anger radiating off of him. I'm gonna chop off your heads and use them for... He begins to shout, but a voice interrupts him. No. Sorry, we're late to the party? Sue Richards calls, and Red Hulk turns to see Spider-Woman, Invisible Woman, Storm, Tigra, Hellcat, and Black Widow all charging towards him. Jen smiles as her friends gather around her. Ladies, let's teach this jughead some manners, and the group of female superheroes launch themselves at Red Hulk, hitting them with everything that they've got. He tosses She-Hulk aside as Tigra and Hellcat leap onto his back, slashing at him with their claws. Sue hits him with a barrage of invisible energy, trying to bring him down. He tosses the cats aside as Valkyrie rushes in with her spear, but he grabs the tip, knocking her away. You know, I've taken all the crap I'm gonna take from you, She-Hulk yells as she barrels in, hitting him again and again, raining punches down on his face and body. She finally whirls, punching him in the nose, staggering the red giant. Now's our chance, she shouts to her friends as he stumbles. Sue bubbles his head, cutting off his air supply, leaving a small hole for Storm. The bubble is then filled with lightning that rips into Red Hulk. He staggers for a moment before tipping over and falling to the ground. Before he can fall off the edge, Thundra lashes out with a chain, tying him back up. And triumphantly, the women stand over their fallen enemy. What do we do with him now? Tigra asks. We take Val's sword and chop his head off and be done with it, Thundra says simply. But She-Hulk shakes her head, explaining that they have to wait for him to calm to see who he really is. And then maybe we chop his head off. She nods. Time passes, and the women talk about their lives, catching everyone up. Thundra stands over the body with the sword. I still say we chop off his head, she says to the group, but more time passes, and they continue to talk. Storm brings up that he might not even revert, just like She-Hulk doesn't, but Thundra waits with the sword. I still say we chop his head off, she says. Morning dawns overhead, and Thundra chimes in. I still say we chop his head off. We get it, She-Hulk shouts in exasperation. Full daylight appears and the heroes all stretch in exhaustion. Red Hulk suddenly rears up, ripping the chains apart in a single flex. He then lashes out, taking out both Jessica Drew and Storm in one quick move. He played us! He took out Aurora and Drew, our only flyers! Thundra shouts, but she is suddenly grabbed by Red Hulk as he rushes past them, leaping away with his new prisoner. She-Hulk tries to leap after him, but she can't leap as high, missing grabbing Red Hulk. She curses as she falls back to the earth. A short time later, Red Hulk slams Thundra against the wall, telling her to calm down. He only wanted to recruit her. He explains, I'm not the Green Hulk. I kidnapped you because I have plans, and I get what I want. Why me? She asks. He smiles, his eyes glowing. Because you were the only one who was willing to kill me. Now do you want to hear what I have to offer? Later, the other heroes are fixing Mount Rushmore when Jen's phone buzzes. She answers it, relieved to hear Thundra's voice on the other end. What did he want? Why did he take you? She asks. Thundra pauses for a moment before she tells Jen that Red Hulk just wanted to use her as a hostage and let her go. I'm glad you're okay. We'll get him next time, Jen tells her. And Thundra nods, hanging up the phone, walking away. And that concludes the end of Red Hulk Volume 2, or Incredible Hulk Volume 2, whichever this is actually a part of. I thought we would do the She-Hulk fight a little bit separately because I thought it was a fun fight. But what do you guys think in the comments?
Look at this photograph.
What happens when Peter Parker gets so injured that he cannot be Spider-Man? Well, we get Spider-Man Beyond. Today on Comicstorian, we're going to be covering a storyline known as Spider-Man Beyond. In order to understand the context of the story, you just need to know a couple of things. There's a character known as Ben Reilly, and Ben Reilly is a clone of Peter who did some very bad things, but eventually became a hero, and then became bad again, and then became a hero again. I mean, it's comic book. And on top of that, Peter Parker at one point owned a multi-billion-dollar corporation known as Parker Industries that he eventually had to sell off. That's really all the setup you need to know for Spider-Man Beyond, which is a storyline that came out about a year and a half ago, which covered the story of the Beyond character, the character that took over for Peter Parker while he was injured. So today we're going to be doing that audio drama for you, giving you a narration of that storyline. All alterations are to prevent copyright problems, and I do highly recommend checking out this book at your local bookstore. But let's get into the full story of Spider-Man 2. It was another morning as Peter Parker wakes up yet another night. A nightmare. Close to him. He wants to pretend that it isn't real. But that doesn't change the fact that
My bird down there doing work.
something that always helped take Peter's mind off of things was putting on the Spider-Man mask and doing what he could, even if it gets harder and harder to do it. No matter how noisy those streets are, how loud people are, there's never any traffic when he's smiling. It helps clear his mind. However, there's only one problem with that. There's another Spider-Man in the city. Peter hurries up, trying to catch the new guy, asking, "What gives? Spider-Verse? Aren't you guys supposed to check in when we come to check on each other's dimensions?" The other Spider-Man doesn't answer. He turns back, telling him, Peter yells, "Oh, no! No one shushes Spider-Man." He's trying to web up the imposter, but his web line just bounces off. Next, he pulls up the ground that they were standing on, and the imposter crashes through it like nothing, tossing back a spinneret drone to immobilize Peter. The drone latches on, coiling around Peter, telling him, "Please relax. You will be released in 1 hour. You should take this time to reflect on your life." And with that little run-in, the next morning, Peter Parker heads to ESU, trying to put together what exactly happened the day before. Who was this new Spider-Man? But as he heads into class, he hears someone calling out to him, and he turns back to see Ben Ryan, one of Peter Parker's clones from back in the day. One of the ones that has survived, has gone on to become the Scarlet Spider, to become the Jackal, and do various other things. Ben looks at him. "Hey, it's been a while. You got a second to talk?" So the two leave and they go grab some coffee with Peter folding his arms. And Ben stops him. "Yeah, it was me. I hadn't been out in a while. Plus I was on a staff run, so I couldn't very well let you talk or they'd listen in." Peter stops. "Who's they? Have you ever heard of the Beyond Corporation?" Peter shakes his head no, and Ben tells him that they are a multinational conglomerate who has been on a spending spree for the last couple of years. They're buying up pieces of businesses, Roxxon, brands, Parker Industries. Nothing too important or dangerous, just old trademarks, like the one for the name and likeness of Spider-Man. Peter realizes what is going on. While he would never trademark the name Spider-Man, there was a period when Otto Octavius was in his body, and he created an entire industry with the Parker name on it. And in Parker Industries, he trademarked Spider-Man to be the bodyguard of Peter Parker. So of course, Otto would trademark it all. He would gain copyright. Ben goes on, telling him, Beyond wants to get into the superhero business, but they want to do it right, and they want to put Spider-Man on their payroll. So here I am, to fill you in and let you know what's going on. Peter stops him. "No, that's not gonna happen." Ben tells him, "Actually, Peter, I wasn't asking." Peter stares. "Oh. Beyond is gonna pay me stupid amounts of money, and so they chose me this time. So I'll see you around, Peter." Later that night, Peter gets a notification that ESU is under attack by the UFOs. There, Vector tells everyone to keep looking, but X-Ray tells him that they got some bad information. It's not good. Peter arrives, giving off his normal quips, stating that there's a distinct odor, and it's not good. Like one of them is made of noxious gas. Ironclad tells him it wasn't funny the first time that they heard it. Peter asks, "Wait, first time?" That's when he looks over to see Ben in the Spider-Man Beyond outfit lifting up the debris that he was trapped under, tossing it aside casually. "Yeah, these guys don't think we're funny." Peter stops. "How did you get here so fast?" "I have a team now. They monitor the city and they tell me where to go." Vector shouts that that's enough. It's time for them to leave, and both Spider-Men state that they all know that isn't going to happen, right? Vector tells Ironclad to take them out and be cruel. And as Ironclad charges in and punches, Ben blocks it, pushing him back. Peter asks, how did he? But Ben tells him, "I've got kinetic-sensitive phone in my costume. Blocks under impact." Pretty neat, huh? But we need to hurry and take these guys out. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and together. The two begin to turn the tables as two Spider-Men battle against the UFOs, with Vector yelling that it's time to finish this. He begins to create gas surrounding the two of them, and Peter begins to cough, asking, "What is this?" X-Ray laughs. "You're gonna love this!" And as a cosmic beam shoots into the cloud, Ben tells him that his suit is telling him that the gas is radio volatile. That means an explosion goes off around both Spider-Men. And as X-Ray yells that he did it, Ben then punches him through the head, asking, Did you know I have lead-lined gloves? No, my suit has all kinds of neat tricks. Peter then gets up coughing, taking off his mask. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And he begins to vomit. Ben grabs him, telling him that the Beyond suit is designed to handle these things. Your suit's just normal, Peter. Peter says that his spider sense warned him, but inside, the danger is inside. As Ben holds him up, keeping it together, Peter's vision begins to fade to black. A short while later, Aunt May's phone rings, and as she picks it up, Peter tells her, "Hey, I'm in the emergency room right now in McCarthy. I'm hurt, so come quick, okay?" Before she could even ask, Peter hangs up, and Aunt May says, "That wasn't Peter." At the hospital, Ben is hanging up, having called her on behalf of Peter. And the doctor yells, asking what happened to his brother here. The scans are showing toxosis, or some kind of radiation poisoning. Maybe both. But even before Ben can answer, Mary Jane runs in shouting, "Where is he? I am looking for Peter Parker." The doctor walks her over, telling her that Peter is in no shape to see anyone. And MJ says, "Don't tell me that! He just called me!" The doctor tells her that it's impossible. Maybe she talked to his brother? MJ is confused, looking around the hospital. What brother? But the nurses begin to yell that he is convulsing. And as the doctors hurry off, Ben is nowhere to be found. In the ER, Peter's spider sense is blaring. It's telling him that he is in danger, but the danger is coming from inside of his body. His body is the danger. There's something inside trying to kill him. He's stabilized again, with Aunt May coming in asking, "What happened?" They said something about radiation. MJ tells her to keep her voice down. Peter is resting it, but he coughs. Ladies, one at a time. I'm not some piece of meat. Aunt May asks what happened, and Peter says, "Oh, just some villains, the UFOs. Tried to attack Empire State, and I was. MJ covers for him, stating that Peter was meeting with Professor Connors after getting his grades up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he was exposed to, well, the doctor isn't sure." Aunt May scoffs. "Not sure, intrigued. Where is this doctor I would like to look?" As she leaves the hospital. What did you do to him? Ben walks in. Things got out of hand. I'm sorry. Is Peter going to be okay? MJ quietly yells that maybe he should have stuck around to find out instead of jumping on her. Ben, you're gonna talk your way out of this. You're gonna need to get those lips moving. Start swinging. I'm in no shape to stop. Ben sighs. Look, if you take his place, I would. It's just a Spider-Man thing. I still want to do it. It's even more important now that, well, you know. But I've decided, Peter, I can't see Spider-Man without your blessing. Peter asks, half alive, "You want my permission?" What happened to not asking? I didn't handle that right. I'm not used to getting the things I want, or I need. I wasn't expecting people to help me, so I don't know how to ask. That's what my therapist says. But this is me asking. Peter glares. It's hardly a word. It really is. It feels like I'm being asked if I can share my life with you. I don't know if there's enough to go around, so it makes it even easier to ignore that this is even harder for you. You deserve to be who you are. You deserve to do what makes you happy. You deserve to be Spider-Man. Ben smiles. Thank you. Get better, okay, Pete? Peter tells him, "I'll be out there in no time, man. Don't get too comfortable on your own. And one last thing, be amazing." Ben nods and walks out as MJ says that she'd be mad at him right now. He's the sweetest man alive. Peter doesn't answer right away, and MJ asks if everything's okay. Peter tells her, "I'm waiting for Ben to get out of earshot." She asks why. Peter tells her that he can't feel his body. MJ screams for someone to come and help him, and Peter's spider sense fires off as his whole body seizes up. The doctors and the nurses tell him to hang on, but in Peter's mind, he says he can't. His body is the danger. It's shutting down. He can't let it. He's got to escape. He's got to get away. And while Peter is fighting for his life, Ben follows up on the UFOs. After dispersing vapor and using the lead shape to stun X-Ray, Vector shouts, "What are you doing, Spider-Man?" And as the smoke fades, Ben stands up with his new tech web shooter. Hell yes, Spider-Man! Max is taking care of the UFOs in his last bout. Ben Reilly has been training with his employer, the Beyond Corporation, to be the best version of Spider-Man that the world has ever seen. But while watching Ben's progress from a monitoring room, the employer says that he seems to be moving quite well today. But his handler, Marcus, says that he isn't so sure. Even while fighting Misty and Colleen, he seems distracted. The employer steps out onto the training grounds, telling Misty and Colleen that will be enough. Ben needs to hurry along to his next appointment. Walk with me, Ben. Ben jumps down. All right, Maxine, but my appointment with Kafka is in just a few minutes. And Maxine tells him that she can wait. The two begin to walk through the Beyond facility, with Maxine stating that they have invested a lot into him because they believe in him. And between him and Beyond's resources, they can make a real change. Something that he shouldn't be taking lightly. Ben says that he is taking this seriously, and Maxine tells him good, because they can't have him taking the suit out again whenever he feels like it. He works for them. He doesn't do whatever he wants. Ben tries to defend himself, informing Maxine that there was an emergency, but she tells him to stop. She has no tolerance for his excuses. She isn't going to try and give him a hard time. She's going to try and make sure that he is really her guy for this. If not, they need to know that they can cut their losses and move on. Not everyone can do this, but she knows that he can, and he just needs to know that he can. Does he want to be Spider-Man, or does he want to be a scraggly, sad, not quite got it together, almost Spider-Man who shows up every once in a while? Ben stares. I am Spider-Man. And Maxine smiles. Good. That's all I needed to hear. Enjoy therapy. But while Ben is talking to the doctor, over at McCarthy Medical Center, Aunt May's patients are running thin with the progress that has been made on Peter's condition. If none of Peter's rich friends like Mr. Stark can't help, she's going to make her own call. However, it isn't just Aunt May and MJ that are watching over Peter's comatose body. The Black Cat also seems to have taken an interest in Peter's situation. Back with Ben Reilly, he heads home after his session with the therapist to try and spend some time with me. Before the two of them can even settle in, he gets a notice that his help is needed. Throws back on the mask, heading into the teleportation room, telling her he'll be back soon. They'll try and have a nice quiet date night or something. So a few moments later in Midtown, Ben swings around the outside of a laboratory, seeing several scientists on the ground. Now the one that caused this, Morbius. Ben thinks to himself, isn't Morbius doing good work? He's supposed to have gotten himself together after that last little setback. This does not look together. He jumps down. Hey, Morbius. What's going on? Please don't be the one who has done all of this. And Morbius turns back, flashing his fangs. Spider-Man! Charging in. Ben easily dodges the lunge, turning to Morbius. You seem a little wild-eyed and covered in blood. Now might be a time to tell me what's going on. Need your blood! Ben webs him up and thinking that he's secure. Ben begins to check on the scientist, stating, please, 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 please be alive. Please. Wait, Morbius? But before Ben could fully sense Morbius coming into attack, he turns and Morbius punches him in the face, stunning him. He then grabs Ben from behind, pressing his fangs against his neck. Forgive me! And as Ben struggles to break free, there's a sudden slick as Morbius' fang pierce Ben's body. His vision begins to fade, and he begins to feel himself getting weaker and weaker as Morbius continues with his attacks. The suit is having a hard time keeping up with the toxins injected into him, so Ben tries his best to reason with Morbius. But Morbius growls, "Not working!" Ben tries to think about what to do, but that's when it hits him. Moments later, Ben swings into his penthouse apartment at the Beyond building, trying to hobble over to his teleporter. He looks back as Morbius has chased him. Stop! You're not invited! I'm not even in the mood to give you jokes right now. The security system is a real deal. Stay there so I can get some help. Morbius jumps into the security system after him, setting it off. The lasers then cut across his chest, severing his arm, letting it hit the ground with a squishy thud. And with that, Morbius flees. As the medical teams arrive to take Ben away, Marcus tells Janine that she has to wait there. She begins to yell that that's crazy. Ben needs her. And Marcus says that he knows, but they won't let her into the medical facility with him. Promises to make sure that she is informed every step of the way. A few moments later, as the doctors begin to get Ben out of his suit, the nurses begin to get the antitoxin ready. Director Danger tells them to wait. She has a question. What effects might they see if they don't administer the antitoxin this time? The doctor pauses. Excuse me? What would the effects be? Would he develop an entirely new vampire-based power set? Could it unlock new spider-vampire hybrid powers? This could be a research goldmine. The doctor says that they can't possibly know what would happen, and it would be highly unethical to even speculate. She thinks about it for a moment and then tells him that she agrees. Proceed with the antitoxin. Keep me informed of Riley's condition and notify me when we begin to process the Morbius parts. Meanwhile, back at McCarthy Medical, the window in Peter Parker's room flies open as Black Cat quietly slips in. She sits beside Peter's bed, telling him to come back. Please. For a moment, Peter opens his eyes, lifting a finger. Black Cat shouts in surprise, and MJ slams open the door, running over to tell Peter to wake up. Peter closes his eyes again, and Black Cat says that she'll go. But MJ stops her. No, you can stay. It's the first time that I've seen him move since this started. I'll take whatever I can get. But if you're going to stay, you're going to have to change those damn clothes before the nurse comes in. As Black Cat leaves, MJ looks at Peter. I'll grab however many ex-girlfriends I need to if you'll just move another finger. But back at the Beyond Corporation, Misty and Colleen try to talk to Morbius, but Morbius is still in his bitey phase. The two easily overtake it, punching and kicking until finally Misty deploys a spinneret drone to bind him. Misty then says that maybe they can try to figure out what's wrong with him, but Morbius growls, trying to bite at her again. At that moment, one of the security drones is shot and a woman walks in. Hello. Colleen cries, oh no, the spy drones! Monica, whatever shall we do? Monica says that she does love idle chit-chat, but there will be a replacement drone here any minute, so they need to be quick. What have you found? And that's when we discover that they don't quite trust the Beyond organization that they are working for. But later, back with Ben Reilly, he and Janine go out after Ben is released and he's given the night off. As they go out to the movies and take a nice walk into the park, Janine teases Ben about falling asleep in the theater and the two kiss. But sitting up in the trees, there's somebody watching them. Craven says, it is sweet, but those crazy kids should probably make a goodbye to us. And that concludes issue 77 and 78, but don't leave yet, viewers. We're not done. There's a spin-off issue that goes a little bit more into Misty and Colleen. The Beyond organization is kind of fishy if you haven't figured that out at this point. Whoever's running the show doesn't seem to care about the employees working underneath her. And Misty and Colleen also don't trust the Beyond organization, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. All the while, Ben Reilly's just trying to be the best damn Spider-Man that he can be. But like I said at the beginning, there is a spin-off issue. It's called 78 Point Bay. B-E-Y. Yes, I know it stands for Beyond, but they didn't spell out Beyond in the point. So let's go ahead and jump into 78 Point Bay. Misty and Colleen sit in Maxine's offices covered in blood. And Maxine says that they will take note that this isn't a question, and they will tell her exactly what happened. Colleen says that it all started when they were training with Ben in the morning. She was supposed to help Ben learn how to fight against the Avengers, but she didn't really, know what the Avengers did. So she kind of made up what she thought each of them would do. We then see what was happening, and as Misty got the drop on Ben, she asks, what did he learn? And Ben says, I have no idea. Colleen made some horror movie version of the Avengers for me to fight. Misty says, no, training-wise. And Ben says his spider sense. It's great for alerting him to threats, but with enough threats to keep it going off, he gets a little blindsided. Maxine walked up, stating, outstanding. Miss Knight, Miss Wing, a word please. And that was how the two ended up over at Maxine's office. She explained that there is a problem downtown that the Beyond organization is well positioned to solve. And she would like the two of them to solve it for her. There's a robot monster. They've codenamed it Obsidian Star, and it's on a rampage with no one to stop it. She thought this might be an excellent opportunity for a little positive word-of-mouth publicity for them. And before they say that this isn't in their contracts, is saving innocent people something that they need to be contractually obligated to do. Moments later, as Colleen is racing down the street in their experimental car, Misty looks at the list of things that they were given to test, such as an antimatter bomb. An antimatter bomb! And after putting that away, Misty loads in the pocket battlefield cube that they need to close for this to work. Colleen steps on the gas and swerves, giving Misty the shot. And as she fires the pocket battlefield cube, it begins to suck the Obsidian Star and themselves into it. As the world is warped around them, the car stops and Misty reads the instructions. Pocket battlefield, effective threat radius, 3 meters. That was not 3 meters. It looks like the gizmo worked a little too well. Now we've ended up getting ourselves contained along with the target. Colleen looks around asking where are they, because it looks like one of the simulations that they bullied Ben back with back at the HQ. Misty looks up. Yeah, it looks a lot like your sim. The Avengers Murder Mansion? Or at least your idea of what the Avengers live in. Colleen laughs. Yeah, this is gonna suck. But hey, I did a really good job making up a murder mansion. So Misty calls in asking what the hell are they doing, and Maxine tells them that the research team is looking into it. So far, they can only assume that with Obsidian Star's exotic energy source, it reacted to the pocket battlefield. Misty says that exotic better not mean what she thinks it means. Maxine tells her, extraterrestrial. The pocket battlefield is built from a retrieved Kree tech. For them to get out, they must find Obsidian Star and remove its energy source. Misty sighs. Of course we have to. The two kick down the door and are greeted by a masked man with a shotgun that Misty blows apart with her new Kapow high-explosive rounds. For the most part, Misty and Colleen test out an assortment of Beyond tech on all of the horror versions of the Avengers, from an insecticide on the zombie wasp to a can of whoops, all scorpions! But after killing the Avengers in many, many different ways with Beyond tech, Misty realizes that they've been carving through Avengers, but they haven't seen Obsidian Star. Colleen stops. Wait, Maxine said that the Obsidian Star's power source was interacting with the pocket dimension. Like some kind of feedback loop or something? That would mean Obsidian Star is not trapped in the sim like we are. Obsidian Star is the sim. Misty asks what does that mean, and Colleen yells that it's a haunted house. Do the math. As a realization kicks in, the two scream a slew of obscenities as the house begins to collapse in on itself and they are attempting to escape. Misty takes out the last thing that she hasn't tested yet, and it's the antimatter bomb. She tosses it back into the house and they leap out just as the do not use under any circumstances antimatter bomb triggers. As the smoke clears, Misty and Colleen can see Obsidian Star's body lying on the ground. Misty reaches down to try and pull out the power source when Maxine asks what happened there. As we are now back at the office and we are watching everything that had happened with Maxine, Misty, and Colleen. And Misty asks, what do you mean, Maxine? Weren't you recording everything that had happened? Maxine says that as it turns out, detonating a prototype antimatter bomb messes with their electronics. They lost contact after they used it. So where is the power source? Colleen yells, what power source? Misty was digging around in that thing's chest for ages. It was grotesque. There's nothing. Maxine pauses. Very suspicious. Nothing. Misty and Colleen tell her, nope, not a thing. Even though in actuality, they did find something. Just not something that they wanted Maxine to. Maxine says, so after millions of dollars of prototype weapons were destroyed, you brought me nothing. Misty gets up asking, is that an accusation? Surely you aren't worried that it isn't just another exotic power source, right? Maxine stares and Misty tells her, that's what I thought. I'm taking a sick day, by the way. Colleen stands up. Yeah, I'm taking 2. Mental health. And the next day at an undisclosed location, Monica takes the Obsidian Star's power source, stating, yeah, I think I know just where this needs to go. As Ben's suit is scanned inside of Beyond's lab, he shouts in pain, asking what kind of a firmware update are they doing to him. Because he doesn't really think that it should be shocking him. The doctor tells him that after the Morbius incident, some upgrades were to be expected. So once done, Ben scoffs that they could have done the update in his sleep, would have been a lot less painful. If they've forgotten, he's a bit of a genius. Marcus informs him that in case he's forgotten, Beyond and its board members have invested a considerable amount of money into him. So when Spider-Man is out there, he is representing Beyond's interests in the best possible light. Ben suits up, telling him that they chose the other guy because he is too damned bullheaded and strong-willed. His job isn't to help Beyond look good, it's to help the people. Marcus tells him, actually, Ben, it's both. And don't go too far. Your patrol starts in half an hour. After leaving the Beyond Corporation and making a stop to check in on Peter Parker, Ben Reilly is called away when he overhears on the news that there's a bank robbery happening and a high-speed chase is currently in progress. As to not draw too much attention to the situation, he steps out stating, get better, buddy. Consider that wish officially made, as he webs out of the window. A few short swings later into downtown, Ben finds the speeding armored truck webbing up the people inside, slowing them down. But seeing that the truck is now continuing to barrel down the road towards a group of people, Ben Webb launches himself forward, grabbing the child, who wasn't quite fast enough to get out of the way, and safely moves them out of the way of the destruction. Ben tells the kid, hey, nice to meet you. Pretty scary, huh? Bright side, you can all tell your friends that you met Spider-Man today. Marcus radios in that he did an incredible job saving everyone, but they've got another job for him. Beyond board member Andrew Ayers pinged security about a possible break-in. Doors to his penthouse are in lockdown mode, and you're the closest there is to it. So Ben hurries over, opening up the door through the balcony, calling out to Andrew when he hears a faint, struggling voice calling out for help. Ben yells, don't worry, I'll be there in a second. Stay calm, and we'll have this taken care of in no time. But as he opens up the door to where he thought he heard the voice, he finds Andrew passed out on the floor with a tranq dart in his neck. Before Ben could even guess who is actually calling for him, his spider sense begins to go crazy, and the entire apartment explodes. When he comes to, he looks up to see Craven the Hunter standing over him as he shouts, "This was too much! You!" Ben gets up swinging and misses, and Craven punches him, telling him, "I wish to bestow upon you a gift, the offering of my greatest hunt of cleansing." Craven lunges at him. "I heard the Spider-Man was now coming under the heel of corporate masters. Figured it would be the perfect bait to lure the great spider out." "You really think of me as great? Really?" But Craven punches into him, telling him, "You have great spirit. You make light of such heavy work. It is something that I greatly admire." Quickly running out of options to fight back in his dazed state, Ben runs towards the window, jumping out. But within seconds, he's riddled with tranq darts. He lands onto the building hard. I should have knew there was a trap waiting. Already beginning to feel lightheaded. Not from blood loss. Something else going on. He looks at his hands as they begin to bend and move like they're underwater. "I need to focus! 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 Focus!" And then with a thundering voice, Craven calls out, "You must rejoice!" With a flaming tiger head and now wings, Craven tells him, "Your great awakening is about to begin." Ben's suit tries to filter out the toxins that Craven is pumping into him, but with so much in him, the suit and his spider senses are in overdrive. He tries to get up and swing away, but he ends up stumbling off of the building and onto another one. He looks around to try and find another way down, but then he feels his feet sinking into the building. He begins to crawl out, telling himself, "Come on, Peter! Wait, Ben! I'm Spider-Man!" As he gets out, he sees himself, or at least a hollowed-out version of himself. He sees that he's not Spider-Man, he's not even a man, he is a shell, a blank canvas, a rough sketch of a greater man. He gets back up and begins to move again, stating that he needs to find somewhere to rest. But then, he passes out, falling off of the ledge of the building. Meanwhile, back at Beyond, Marcus shouts asking, "Can somebody get eyes on Ben, please? We can't keep this away from Maxine for very long, and if we don't find him, we're all gonna wish that we're the ones who disappeared." But then Janine calls, and before Marcus can even speak, she tells him to tell her what is going on. 1 minute, her apartment is swarming with Spider IT guys, and then the next, they're all rushing out stating code blue. So help her. So help her. If he doesn't tell her what is happening, she will drop kick him so hard in the chest, she swears to God she'll do it. Marcus says, "Look, there's a situation unfolding, but we're handling it. As soon as I know more, I'll let you know." And he hangs up on her, asking one of the researchers if there's any update, but his phone rings again. He answers it, telling Janine that he assures her he will get back to her when he can, but right now he has more pressing matters to attend to. Maxine tells him, good to know. If she was Janine, that would be most unfortunate. Luckily, she has some questions, and they are answered. Back with Ben, he slowly begins to wake up, groggy from the high dose of tranquilizer running through his system when he hears a voice. He looks over to see a talking turtle, vulture, and maybe a horse. The turtle says that his name is Doug, and the others state that their name is Adaub and Basir. They were captured a few days ago. But as Ben gets closer, they revert back to their original selves as Beyond employees. And Doug says that he doesn't look too good. They're from the pharmaceutical division, and they've been working on a cure-all for migraines and head colds. And they were using it for hangovers, but same ballpark. Ben takes the pill, stating that he's putting a lot of trust into a talking turtle, but he doesn't have much choice. Ben then steps out onto what appears to him as an oil rig, stating that he's feeling like they're not in Manhattan anymore. And Craven attacks, narrowly missing, stating, "Please tell me the flames spoke truth to you. The corporation is using you as a dog." The two struggle, and Ben yells, "Beyond has its issues, but what kid doesn't? At least they don't want to kill people." As Ben falls over, he pulls Craven with him, and he manages to spin Craven around, slamming him into the ground, but Craven gets back up. "This is the belly of technological conversion. We both shall be remade whole. Here, I will awaken the great animal within." Ben laughs, telling him that he did awaken some old nightmares. But thanks to Doug, who may or may not be a giant talking turtle, I'm back to my old self. A lot of pain, sure, but at least I can see the research plant we're in. Craven lunges with a knife, asking, "Who holds your leash?" And Ben jumps over, kicking him, telling him, "I'm my own spider. And if all it takes to break your great warrior spirit is a cup of algae and a cell phone, maybe you're not the great hunter that you thought you were." Craven falls into the algae pit, pulling out a small device. "I will not be tamed. I will remain unbroken." Ben yells for him to wait, but as Craven presses the button, He blows himself up. Later, back at Beyond, Marcus says, yes, Miss Danger, he's being looked into. He's also being given a week off. Maxine tells him that this is a curious disciplinary action. Usually when a dog misbehaves, you tighten the leash. Beyond might have invested a lot of resources into this project, but if they need a hard reboot, they will certainly do it, and she will be in touch. As Maxine hangs up, she says that she's sorry. She doesn't like handling other departments' business in front of others, but this was a particularly interesting situation. The lawyer tells her that they understand. Picking up where they left off, this is a cease and desist. We will make sure that this Brooklyn Spider-Man is taken care of before he can even think of becoming an issue or beyond. And if you're wondering who the Brooklyn Spider-Man is, of course that's Miles Morales. So next up we're gonna have Ben Reilly versus Miles Morales. But now we're gonna go into 80 Points Beyond. It's a spin-off issue that tells you a little bit more about the other things happening now that Ben Reilly has taken over. The first couple of issues of this were telling us more about the Beyond Corporation and the other people that they've hired. This particular issue is going to be about Aunt May and Otto Octavius. Let's get into it. Day and night, Aunt May sat beside Peter's bed while doctor after doctor came in and told her that they don't know how to help bring Peter out of his coma. Finally getting fed up with no answer, she kisses him on the forehead, telling him that she is sorry for doing this and hopes that he understands. But she is backed into a corner. She's going to be taking things into her own hands and getting help from an old friend. So later that night, Dr. Otto Octavius kisses May's hand, stating, "You humble me with your beauty." She tells him that it's good to see that he still has his gentleman's air about him. But enough of the flattery, they have work to do. The two go back to ESU where Peter was attacked, and they begin to look for clues. Octavius scans the area, stating that they must collect samples to see if there's anything that can help her nephew. And after picking up a few, Octavius brings May to one of his many safe houses for further testing. What they found were faint traces of a rare air pollutant found only in the industrial district, as well as radiation. One suited up as Doc Ock, Octavius follows the traces to an apartment building that obviously is a front for a criminal organization. May tells him that it looks just like a normal apartment building to her. Perhaps they should try a lighter touch before just bursting in. She rings the buzzer and the landlord says who's there, and May tells him, actually, she was wondering if she could trouble him to possibly look at some of their rooms. The landlord lets them in, stating that there were 4 weirdos who previously rented this room, and it looked like they ran into some trouble with the law. One of them was named Simon. Octavius tells her, of course, radiation, poison gas, Simon. It must have been the UFOs. Where did the police? The landlord stops him, telling him that it wasn't any police that came. It was something called Infinite Solutions. He took the UFOs and cleaned up the place, except that his cousin crashed and trashed the place shortly after. May takes the scanner and says that she may have found something. And Octavius looks over, telling her, yes, the discoloration is most likely some byproduct of X-rays radiation. However, we would need a larger quantity to try and replicate anything in the lab. As the two leave, May asks, what is Infinite Solutions? Octavius looks online, stating that it would seem that they are charged with holding superpowered individuals awaiting trial or transfer them to prison. But only a fool would think that. So after getting the address, May walks into Infinite Solutions, and the security guard asks if there's anything that he can help her with. She says hello. They were hoping that they would be able to speak with her grandson. The folks at the jailhouse told them that he was taken here. The guard tells her that there are no unscheduled visitations. If they wish to see her grandson, they'll need to make an online appointment. May stops him. Surely there could be someone back there who can speak, but the guard taps on the no unscheduled visitor sign, and the two of them leave. Outside, Octavius says that they went with her lead. Now it is time to take his lead. And he grabs May with one of his metal arms and begins to scale the building. As they get in, she looks around, stating that this place is pretty intense for a rehabilitation center. Not loving the idea of what they might find deeper inside, and Octavius tells her that they have to be efficient. The both of them must be prepared to get their hands dirty. The scanner is showing that they have samples nearby that they're going to need. One to the west, one to the north. At that moment, armed guards walk by, and Octavius follows them to see a bunch of prisoners.
No legendaries.
That one looks pretty legendary. Nice.
Including X-ray, working out. But before they could do anything, another guard spots them. Octavius quickly dispatches of him as he begins to fire. The alarms begin to blare all around them, so Octavius tells May to take the guard's keycard and go to Vapor's cell and collect her sample. They'll meet in the security room later. She runs off yelling, "Please be careful! I want to thank you properly after we get out of here." Octavius climbs down into the rec room, and X-Ray cracks his knuckles, telling the guard that he can easily handle this if they turn off his dampeners. The guard stares. "Don't make me regret this." And as the dampener is powered down, X-Ray unleashes a cosmic blast, tearing through the room. Octavius slams him into the wall, telling him, "I have come to collect something of actual value." The two begin to go back and forth, exchanging blows, but Octavius grabs X-Ray, throwing him into the air, letting him come crashing down. After picking him up one more time, Octavius begins to shoot X-Ray with his lasers until he passes out and extracts the sample that he needs. At that moment, the guards surround him, telling him to freeze. And Octavius tells them, "You seem to have mistaken me for one of the inexperienced here. Let me do the honor of correcting that error." Meanwhile, over in the holding cells, May sees Vapor and says that she hates to bother. But does she have a moment? Vapor gets out of her bed, stating that she is a long way from the bingo hall, Grandma. And May says that they usually close up around 7. She's an old bat with enough energy to still hang out past sundown. Vapor laughs. "I like you, but you must need something to get this deep past security." May holds up a photo of Peter, stating that this is her nephew. He drives her crazy, but she loves him dearly. He was a student, and a couple of weeks back, he got roughed up pretty bad by her and her friends when they fought Spider-Man. Vapor says that she's sorry, but she's a bad guy. Sort of comes with the job. May tells her that she isn't a bad person. She just makes mistakes. She also knows people can get caught in the crossfire sometimes. And Peter, he's one of them. She just wants to help him. The doctors don't know what to do. All she needs is a sample. As May opens the cell, Vapor says, "Well, I don't have anything better to do." "Sure, Grandma. Just don't go telling people that the UFOs went and gone soft is all." After getting the sample, May says that she'll tell everyone that it was one hell of a fight. Later in the security offices, Octavius grabs the guard, shouting, "You're all words! This is all a sham! What other secrets do you hide? What masters pull your strings? Tell me!" He begins to look through the computer, realizing that it's a trail of one shell company to another to no. He turns back to the warden, asking, "Do you know what was stolen from me? Do you know why you're about to be skinned alive?" But May steps in, stating, "That was not a part of this plan. Let these men go, Otto." Octavius clears his throat. "Forgive me, but I told you once before. This is the man I've always been. My nature. I was doing what I must to help you." She slams the sample into Octavius, stating that he stopped helping her the moment he found something on that computer. She was a fool to think that he could change, and she's an even bigger fool for not knowing that from the start. This is goodbye, and we won't be seeing each other again. The next night, May sits at home trying to figure out what to do next when she receives a call from the hospital. The doctors inform her that there's been a breakthrough. Some anonymous delivery was made containing, well, a comprehensive cache of data detailing the compounds involved in Peter's illness. She rushes to the hospital and opens up Peter's door, standing in shock because Peter is sitting up on his bed in near perfect health, asking, "Did you happen to get the number of the bus that hit me, May?" But later that night, the Beyond guards begin to call in for backup as they're quickly taken in. Octavius grabs one and the man says, "Please, just take the access card. It'll let you into all the systems. Don't hurt me." Octavius takes the card, telling him, "Seems you've learned the value of self-preservation. Good dog." He begins to look through the terminal. No. Spider-Man and Parker could not have been that stupid. They allowed Beyond to purchase the remains of Parker Industries, the company that I built. Their Spider-Man isn't superior. He is a copy of all of the work that I did. Otto Octavius does not stand for plagiarism. I will remind them, while I will always remain superior. After a fierce run-in with Kraven the Hunter, Ben Reilly is already sent back to the field when his handler Marcus tells him of a monster attacking Brooklyn. While viewing images of this creature, Marcus says that it calls itself Rhizome, and that this would be a great opportunity to show that Spider-Man cares about the whole city, not just Queens. Ben says that it's a little weird to refer to people losing their homes as an opportunity, but he's got it, don't sweat it. Marcus then says that there's one more thing. They estimate a 79% chance that he may cross paths with the unauthorized Spider-Man that is operating out of Brooklyn. If he does, he is contractually obligated to enforce Beyond's trademark. Maybe Ben could suggest a name change. Stryker and Stinger both tested well, so let him know that Beyond is serious about protecting its intellectual property. Ben glares, telling him, "Right. I'll get right on that." So after a short jetpack ride to Laser, Ben finds that Rhizome has moved to another location after destroying most of everything within its reach. As he lands, he looks around at the now depressed individuals who have lost their homes. He asks them which way the monster went, and they tell him that they are a little too busy trying to find if anything of their lives is left intact. Is he here to help them? Ben looks at all the downtrodden people. It's not really my assignment. One of the people then asks, assignment? Who the hell are you? And another voice yells, yeah, that's what I want to know too. As Miles Morales swings down grabbing Ben, he says that the voice is similar but different. And if he isn't OG Spider-Man, who are you? I've already got very little patience for Spider-Man imposters. Ben smacks Miles' hand away, shouting, do not call me that! And the two quickly begin to throw punches at each other. During the scuffle, Ben stops. Look, this is crazy. Pete wouldn't... crap, big mouth. And that causes Miles to stop. Wait, are you really a friend? Ben tells him that friend might not be the right word exactly. He's more like an estranged brother. But he's doing this with his blessing, since their friend is in the hospital. Now Miles is really taken aback. In the hospital? Ben tells him yes. Pretty bad. But that's a long story for another time. Beyond Corporation helped me. Miles stops. Wait, Beyond Corporation? You're working for those fools trying to sue me for being Spider-Man? But before Ben can even argue that he doesn't know anything about that, there's a scream as a piece of a building begins to fall. They rush over to catch him for falling on a group of workers, and Ben asks, how about we stop arguing for 1 minute and track down the killer Rutabaga? So a few minutes later downtown, the killer robot-like monster Rhizome rips through another building when it spots the Spider-Man. It begins to shout, the spiders cannot stop Rhizome! Rhizome breaks all buildings! Ben and Miles get to work trying to web the creature up, but it just breaks through their webbing with very little effort. When the webs don't work, Ben tries his fists, and well, that's like punching a tree. Ben yells that he's gonna try one more thing, casting out a wide web net, wrapping it repeatedly around Rhizome, just long enough to slow its movement down a bit. Miles then jumps in to deliver a venom blast to the chest, and when he does, his hand ends up punching through the roots, and he hits something mechanical. He gives whatever it is that he's holding another venom blast shock. Then there's a quiet explosion from inside a Rhizome as it falls and begins to wither. As the tendrils pull back, the two see a man with all of these enhancements grafted onto his skin. Miles tells Ben that he's seen something like this before, or at least a version of it. A guy, actually a computer program that he's tangled with, called the Assassin. His specialty is cooking up super-powered monsters. He's bad, real bad, Spider-Man. Ben says that he should report this to Beyond, and Miles says that he'll follow up on a lead and shut down the Assessor for good. Ben says that maybe they'll cross paths again, but Miles tells him that as long as he's trying to serve him papers, they're good on it. Ben returns back to Beyond, where he finds Marcus knitting, and in his place is Maxine. Maxine informs Ben that Marcus is undergoing disciplinary action because he failed to properly facilitate his latest operation. She's here to tell him the importance of all mission objectives. Ben begins to freak out, asking if she's talking about the trademark garbage. I did what I could do. What am I supposed to do? Beat up a teenager? Maxine stares for a moment and says that Beyond has given him a lot. They've done so because they see something in him, more than just an experiment. Now he has to ask himself if he's willing to do what is necessary to be a hero. Or is he going to throw all of that away? A short while later in the monitoring room, one of the operators tells Maxine that she was right. All sorts of investigative hits here. Otto Octavius is definitely digging around Beyond. She picks up a canister that contains a swirling mass, stating that if they have an octopus problem, fortunately for them, Beyond specializes in solutions. Now we cut over to the hospital where Peter Parker is staying. He's still recovering after just getting out of his coma. They've removed him from the ICU at McCarthy Medical and they placed him into a room for recovery. As he slowly drifts off to sleep again, his neighbor asks if he can remove the curtain. Peter says, actually, but before waiting for an answer, the old man pulls the curtain back, telling him, that's better. My name is Rico. I've just been watching the highlights of the game. Have you seen this? It's unbelievable. Peter looks at him. No, I haven't. I've been a little busy, so. But that's when the nurse comes in stating, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Mr. Sotomayor, it's time for you to come with me. Rico asks, what, I'm being moved again? Nobody told me. And the nurse tells him, terribly sorry. This way, please. As Rico is wheeled out, there's a knock at the door, and MJ comes in asking how Peter's feeling. Peter tries to sit up, but he screams in pain as he falls back. stating that it hurts so much to even sit up. While the two begin to talk, Peter hears the nurse from before outside of the hallway. I'm terribly sorry, but there's no one here by that name. We don't have a Rico Sotomayor. I'm terribly sorry. Terribly sorry. Peter says, wait, that orderly is lying. He just took that woman's husband out of here. And MJ tells him that she's sure that there has to be a mistake. He should get some rest. She'll sit with him until he falls asleep. However, the nurse from before then walks in stating, I'm so sorry, but visiting hours are over. MJ tells him that it's not even 8 yet, but the man says that there are special circumstances today. Terribly sorry. Terribly sorry. MJ looks back at Peter, who has already fallen asleep, telling him to just get better. She's going to go see about these circumstances. So a short while later, Peter wakes up to a new name, telling that she's supposed to have been discharged 2 hours ago. What are these bozos thinking? They can't. But then the nurse from before walks in again. Time for you to come with me. Terribly sorry. Terribly sorry. The woman yells that she's supposed to go home, but where is she going now? Peter yells with her as he sits up. The pain comes back, stopping him. When he wakes up again, he sees that nurse putting on gloves, telling him that it's time for him to come with him. Peter yells, wait, where the hell are we going? But as his vision begins to fade, the man says that he had to increase the dosage. Terribly sorry. Terribly sorry. Peter begins to see bits and pieces as his bed is pulled down a dark corridor. And when he stops, he sees the nurse step into the shadows. The nurse says, we had to come down in the darkness so I can show you my true shape, where I can feast. A hulking creature steps out of the shadows, with Peter seeing a pile of discarded bones and the creature stating that he can only feed his true shape. And the light burns like wildfire. Suddenly a voice says, that's good to know, and MJ uses the flash of her phone to stun the creature. It screams in pain, chasing after her. She runs towards the light switch, but the creature manages to grab a hold of her leg. MJ grabs a wrench, cracking the monster's hand to free herself, and as she gets to the wall, the creature grabs her again. She yells, whatever the hell you are, you tried to eat the wrong guy. And suddenly a switch is flipped and all of the observation lights turn on, burning the creature until it falls into a pile of ash. Peter hobbles out of bed. My hero. Before collapsing on the floor. CJ runs over telling him that someday he's going to learn how to rest, and if he doesn't, it's going to kill him. Now, after dealing with a man-eating creature, taking patients away and killing them, Peter found himself finally having a night of rest when suddenly he hears, Peter Benjamin Parker! Peter rolls over in his bed, holding his pillow as a large woman walks in, telling him, I know you are not going to make me tell my good friend May Parker that you gave up on physical therapy on the first day. Peter groans. I can't. Not today. Come back when I'm feeling better. She gives him the remote to call the nurse station, stating that quitting isn't an option when he still has folks out there that still care about him. Push that button when you're ready to do work and get better. As the nurse leaves, Peter rolls back onto his back, going through the messages on his phone from MJ and Aunt May. And then he sees their receipt from an online auction for a Spider-Man cosplay bundle. He stares. Wow, I must have really been out of it when I ordered this. But suddenly his spider sense blares like a siren in his head. To others, it seems like he's having random blackouts, but in reality, after his run-in with the UFOs, it left him more damage than anyone could imagine. They used a radio-volatile gas, which combined with his unique physiology, makes his normally dependable spider sense take on a life of its own and attack him. He tries to clear his mind to calm things down, but the spider sense has a mind of its own as it begins to play out twisted visions in Peter's mind. A short time later, the nurse returns to find Peter sitting in a chair by the window, stating that it's nice to see him no longer in pain, but she must remind him that he needs physical therapy, not retail therapy, Peter. As the nurse begrudgingly hands Peter his package, he tells her not to worry. He'll be ready in no time. Give him a day or two? Once the nurse leaves, Peter takes out his new cosplay costume, crawling out of the window to take in the nice air and feel somewhat normal. He gets up stretching, stating who needs Beyond's fancy upgrades. Still a little stiff, but I better get started. Won't be long until Spider-Ben is going to need Spider-Man. But then there's a cry for help as Spider-Man springs into action. Two carjackers pushing a woman out of the way to take her keys, jumping into the car as Peter steps in the way to stop them. But remembering that his outfit is just a cosplay costume, and that his web shooters aren't really web shooters, Peter is just flung across the parking lot as he's struck by the carjacker's Jeep. Carjackers get out asking, yo, what is Spider-Fake doing here? They then begin to stomp and kick Peter while he's down when there's a sudden silhouette that comes running in out of the flames of the wrecked car. Peter tells himself that the crooks seem a bit more heroic, and they also seem a bit bulletproof. Captain America jumps to the fire, yelling out, "That's enough!" Peter tells himself, okay, alright, that makes a lot more sense. Cap takes down one, but as he goes to the second, he manages to fire a shot aimed at Peter. Peter watches as the bullet gets closer, but right behind it, the shiny shield of Captain America goes in to block it. It does deflect the bullet, but it also cracks Spider-Man in the head. Cap runs over. "I'm sorry, I thought, you usually duck." As he's knocked back out, Peter's spider sense goes back to playing tricks on him. He begins to see visions in his unconscious state of Uncle Ben from when he was a kid and got in trouble for stealing a piece of bubblegum. Uncle Ben told him that sometimes when people do the right thing, it's hard. Sometimes it costs them something. They can't do the right things because it's easier. Sometimes being a good person means never giving up on those hard marches or turning away from the right thing just because it hurts. You'll have to decide one day if you're strong enough to pay that price or leave it for someone else to pay for you. These lessons were hard won. Never give them up, Peter. Whatever the cost. Okay? Don't forget them. Young Peter says he won't, not until the day he dies. So while sitting in his room, Peter calls out to Spider-Man. "Come on, Webhead! I can feel you! I need you back! I want it again! I need it! Whatever the cost, I can be Spider-Man again!" The shade that represents Spider-Man begins to crawl through the window. And Peter yells, "I can take it! Never give up!" And then he feels himself being swallowed up by his own self, by his own shade, and he rips himself free, shouting, "Never! I'll never give up!" While Peter Parker is still recovering in the hospital, Ben Reilly has been tasked with overwatching New York as Spider-Man. Backed by the Beyond Corporation and heavily invested in, Ben has to follow the guidelines that Beyond has set out for him if he wants to continue operating as the web-slinging hero. Some of those guidelines involve therapy with Dr. Kefka. As Dr. Kefka says to focus and tell her what he sees, Ben tells her that he sees his uncle, but his face is gone. Dr. Kefka tells him to open up his eyes, asking what does he see now, when suddenly the empty face is filled with Uncle Ben's face, but looks disappointed. She then asks how does that make him feel, and Ben says overwhelmed. Overwhelmed that someone could believe in him so much that it makes him want to do what's right. As Ben begins to break down, Dr. Kefka tells him, "Good. That is great progress. How are you feeling, Ben?" He gets up smiling, telling her, "Honestly, amazing. Absolutely top-tier breakthrough here. Can't thank you enough, Doctor." Feeling a bit more refreshed on his outlook on work and life, Ben decides to take Janine out for dinner to celebrate. After getting dressed for a night out, the two sit in the back seat of their self-driving Beyond car, with Ben asking how is she adjusting to it. The fancy pad, Marcus, a staff on-call self-driving cars. Still weird, isn't it? She tells him that it's something. Wouldn't say that it's perfect, but at least they're doing okay. Ben tells her, yeah, Beyond is far from